The Bountiful Harvest Inn. Clelia, Elna, Willie, and I decided to head to an inn first to drop off our luggage. What'll we do if all the inns are full? I wish I'd asked about at least one other place. We're going to the high-end Bountiful Harvest, right? It's almost never full, Willie said. Is that so? I thought it was a nice place. It is a nice inn, but it never fills up unless a large group of nobles come to town. It's probably half empty, I'd imagine. I guess that's how it is. Well, I'd rather it be empty than packed. The Bountiful Harvest was located in a corner near the main street. We went inside without delay. Welcome! The one who called out with such energy was a girl still young enough to be called a child. She was probably about 14. She had a rather cute face. I'd like to book some rooms, 3 single rooms, please. Elaine, I'm fine sharing a room with Elna, Clelia said. I would feel safer that way too, Elna added. You sure? All right then, 1 single and 1 double. Do you have any vacancies? Of course we do. A single room is 500 guineas a night and a double is 750. Do you offer discounts for longer stays? Let's see. If you prepay for 2 weeks, it's a 20% discount. For a month, it's 30% off. However, there are no refunds. Our plans were still up in the air. For now, I figured 2 weeks would be best. Okay, we'll take them for 2 weeks, please. That came out to 14,000 guineas. As expected of a high-end inn, it was expensive. I'd have to figure out a way to earn some money, or we'd be broke in no time. The young girl behind the counter was thinking hard about something. It seemed she wasn't very good at math. Just then, a woman who looked like the proprietress emerged from the back of the inn. She bore a slight resemblance to the girl. Honestly, what are you doing keeping our guests waiting? My apologies, sir. The total comes to 14,000 guineas. It's no problem. Here you are. I paid the fee. It seemed the girl was indeed the proprietress's daughter. Meals are served in the morning and evening. Breakfast is from 6 to 10, and dinner is also from 6 to 10. You may use the bath whenever you like. Oh, being able to bathe any time was a great perk. Since we had no other questions, she showed us to our rooms. I'm so sorry for the delay, sir. I'll show you to your rooms now, the young girl said. We had Willie wait for us as the girl led the way. The rooms she showed us to were on the 2nd floor. Mine was right next to Clelia and Elna's. It was spacious and clean, truly a room befitting a high-class inn. I put down my luggage and locked the door. It seemed we could keep the keys with us. Clelia and Elna came back down right away, so I let them know we were heading out and we left the inn. How about some lunch? Willie, do you know a good place to eat? My treat, of course. Huh? Are you sure? In that case, I'd recommend Tally's place just over there. It's not too expensive, the food is delicious, and the portions are huge. Large portions sounded right up Clelia's alley. She and Elna seemed to have no objections, so we decided on it. It was our first time eating out here, and I was really looking forward to it. We entered the restaurant and were led to a table by a waiter. For your meals, you can choose the meat set or the fish set. For a la carte orders, please see the menu on that wall, the waiter explained. Several wooden plaques were hanging on the wall, each with a dish's name and price written on it. They have fish. I'll have the fish set then. I'll have the large meat set. I'll also have the large meat set. I will have the fish set. After a short wait, our food was brought to the table. The fish set featured a large, grilled fillet of dried fish. It might have been some kind of salmon substitute. But what really caught my eye was the rice. Whoa, is this? Elaine, you like this stuff? Willie asked. I didn't recognize the word he used, but it was definitely rice. I like it way more than bread. I hadn't seen it anywhere in this country until now, so I just assumed they didn't have it. Rice has become more common in the last few years. I heard the owner's family grows it, so this place serves rice instead of bread. It was a grilled, dried fish set with a large serving of rice. It even came with something like a salad. This looked delicious. Clelia and Willie's meat sets, true to the large order, had massive servings of both rice and what looked like a stir-fry of meat and vegetables. It looked tasty, but it was a bit much for me. Lady Clelia, are you going to eat all of that? It seemed this was the first time Elna had witnessed Clelia's hearty appetite. A portion of this size is no trouble at all. For some reason, Clelia sounded proud. Indeed, for her, this amount was probably just a light snack. It had been a while since I'd had fish, and the set was delicious, oily and full of flavor. Clelia and the others seemed satisfied too. By the way, the price for the set meal was 2 large copper coins, regardless of whether it was a regular or large portion. It was delicious. I decided we'd be frequenting this place from now on. After finishing our meal, we headed to Mr. Tarz's shop, which turned out to be surprisingly close, only about a 5-minute walk. You must be Elaine. Welcome. I've been expecting you. It seemed word of my visit had already reached him. He immediately showed me his selection of seasonings. Just as Mr. Tarz had boasted, there was a wide variety of them. I had the clerk explain them one by one, tasting each as I went. Anything I thought was promising, I tossed into my shopping basket. Whoa, what's this? It was a seasoning that looked and tasted like soy sauce from Earth. It felt a little less salty, but it was well within an acceptable range. You know of it? This is called soy, and it's made in a land far to the east. They have something similar in my country. Is it possible to buy this whole barrel? Of course, but that alone will cost you 1 large silver coin, you know. That's fine. It's worth it. 1 large silver coin for a small barrel was certainly expensive, but this would greatly expand my cooking repertoire. Since there was soy sauce, I thought there might be miso too, but I couldn't find any. In the end, I spent a total of 2,510 guineas, but I was extremely satisfied with the day's haul. They offered to deliver my purchases to the inn, so I took them up on it without hesitation. Well, that's all my errands done. Is there anything you two want to buy? Nothing in particular for me. Elna, do you need anything? I don't need anything either. All right then, let's wander around town for a bit. I've been wanting to try some street food. Ooh, that sounds great. I've wanted to try that too. It felt wrong to make Willie tag along just for a stroll, so we sent him back to his shop. From there, we wandered aimlessly through the streets, browsed shops, and trying any tasty-looking food we found at street stalls. There were things like grilled chicken skewers and something like a sandwich, but the taste was just so-so. Nothing was particularly amazing. For the record, the street food cost between 5 and 10 copper coins. Somehow, both Clelia and I felt a bit let down. After making a full circuit of the main street, we returned to the inn. The street food was a bit underwhelming, wasn't it, Clelia? It certainly was. Let's hope the inn's food is better. We were taking a break in our respective rooms when it became time for dinner. When I went to the dining hall with Clelia and Elna, the only other guests were a group of what looked like merchants. The inn really was empty. For dinner, you can choose between a fish dish and a meat dish. By the way, refills are free. According to the young girl from the inn, refills were free. Clelia looked absolutely delighted. Since I had fish for lunch, I decided on the meat dish. I'll have the meat dish. I'll have the fish dish, large portion. I'll have the meat dish. It seemed Clelia had taken a liking to the phrase large portion. I thought to myself that she could just get refills, but I decided to let her do as she pleased. Since we were here, I felt like trying some alcohol. What kind of drinks do you have? We have ale, red wine, and white wine. Just so you know, drinks are charged separately from the room. The only alcohol I'd had since coming to this world was wine, so I decided to try the ale. I'll have an ale then. What about you two? I'd like a white wine. I'll have a white wine as well, please. The food and drinks were brought out right away, served by the inn's young girl. The ale seemed to be something like beer from Earth. The food, as expected of a high-class inn, was more stylish than what we'd had for lunch and looked delicious. Oops, it seemed we had to pay for the drinks on the spot. The ale and wine were 10 guineas a glass. Whoa, this is chilled and delicious. The ale tasted like a flat beer from Earth, but it was well chilled and quite good. We finally managed to buy a magical refrigeration tool, the girl explained. Is that so? Those things are expensive, aren't they? They are. Just between us, it cost a whopping 30 gold coins. 300,000 guineas. That was so expensive an individual could never afford it. That's definitely pricey, but since it makes the drinks this much better, I'm sure you'll make the money back in no time. I hope so. The meat dish was a large steak. It was topped with something like garlic chips and looked appetizing. This meat was probably from a big boar. It came with freshly baked bread. Delicious. It's cooked perfectly, and the seasoning is flawless. Elaine, this fish dish is delicious too, Clelia said. Her fish dish was 3 large salt-grilled fish that looked like trout. I wondered if she got 3 because she ordered the large portion. It came with a citrus-like fruit, so it was probably meant to be eaten with a refreshing zest. That looks good too. I'll have to try some later. I was thinking about your magic studies, Elaine. How about visiting the Mages Guild? There's something called a Mages Guild. That sounds interesting. What kind of guild is it? I'm not entirely sure. I've never had any reason to interact with it, and I don't even know if there is one in this city. A large city would definitely have one. But, Elena, do you know anything? I don't know much about it either. It seemed to be a rather obscure guild. Someone from this city might know. I raised my hand to call the girl from the inn. Do you know if there's a Mages Guild in this city? Yes, there is a Mages Guild. It's a small branch, I think. If you go out of the inn and turn right, it's on the right side after about a 15-minute walk. I see. Thank you. Could I get a refill on the ale and just one more grilled fish? Of course, you can. I'll have a large portion of the meat dish, Clelia chimed in. She had already finished her entire fish dish. A large meat dish, right away. Well then, if we finish tomorrow's request early, it might be a good idea to check out the Mages Guild. Let's do that then, Clelia agreed. We fully enjoyed our meal and finished dinner. Now I wondered what the bath was like. I decided to go check it out right away. Naturally, the baths were separated by gender. It wasn't as large as the one at Mr. Tarz's mansion, but it was still quite spacious. Oh, they even have soap. Being able to use it any time was a treat, and having it all to myself was the best. I thoroughly enjoyed it and ended up taking another long bath. It was still early, but I decided to just go to sleep for the day. 028, a nomination request and wind magic. I'd be happy to receive any feedback, corrections, or thoughts on typos and omissions. Dawn is breaking. Please wake up. All right, morning. Waking up at dawn has somehow become a habit. Of course, the reason for waking up early is the morning bath. After thoroughly enjoying my morning bath, I lazed around in my room. This was the best part of the day. Elaine, let's get breakfast. There was a knock at the door. It was Clelia, coming to invite me to eat. When we went to the dining hall, the merchants we'd seen yesterday, the only other guests, seemed to be checking out. I wondered if that meant we'd be the only ones staying here now. For breakfast, it seemed there was no choice of courses. We were served freshly baked bread, butter, jam, salad, a rolled omelet, a fried egg, and a meat and vegetable stir-fry. All in all, you could call it a luxurious breakfast. The only disappointment was the lack of rice. As expected, Clelia got refills. Since you're the only guest staying today, my father said to ask if you have any requests for dinner. Oh, so your old man is the one cooking? Speaking of which, is it possible for you to serve rice at this inn? Of course. My father loves rice. He actually wants to serve it, but bread is still more popular, so that's what he makes. Is that so? I much prefer rice. Clelia, Elna, which do you prefer, bread or rice? The rice we had yesterday was delicious. I'm perfectly fine with rice, said Clelia. I'm fine with either, Elna added. In that case, we'd appreciate it if you could serve us rice instead of bread. Understood. After finishing breakfast and taking a short break, it was already time to leave. We were supposed to meet in front of the Adventurers Guild at 9, but we decided to go early. When we arrived at the guild about 20 minutes early, Mr. Jonas was already waiting with about 10 men. A successful merchant indeed. Good morning, Mr. Jonas. Good morning, Elaine. I'm counting on you today. Likewise, we set off immediately with 3 carriages. The journey to the hideout was about a 3-hour ride by carriage, I recalled. Nanom had already mapped the location, so there was no chance of getting lost. We left the city and headed along the main road toward the hideout. Since we were the guides, we rode in the cargo bed of the lead carriage which Mr. Jonas was driving. Nanom was handling lookout duty, so I had nothing to do and was bored. Elena, could you try using wind magic on a tree branch for me? Understood. This is a spell called Air Bullet. To put it simply, it shoots a lump of air at a target. Elna closed her eyes and concentrated for about 15 seconds. Then raised her arm toward a branch high up in a tree. Air Bullet. Since it was a clump of air, it wasn't visible like a fireball. Suddenly, a thwomp sound echoed from the treetop, and leaves fluttered down. Whoa, amazing! So this is wind magic. Unlike a fireball, it was invisible and silent, so there was no worry of the target dodging it. On the other hand, the power didn't seem that great, but it was more than sufficient for use against people. If you could knock an opponent down unexpectedly, it would be a huge advantage. I had Nanom record the flow of magical energy and replayed the footage to check it. As I thought, the flow of mana was the same as for Fireball. All that was left was the image. When I thought of a lump of air, I imagined something swirling like a typhoon. An image of wind compressed by high-speed rotation. I'd use wind to push this lump forward and hit the target. Something like this, maybe.
Nanom had already loaded the mana particles. I set the sights on my virtual window to the treetop and activated the spell. Air bullet, fire! With a whoosh, a lump of air shot forward. Since the clump of air was invisible to the naked eye, I had switched to my mana display mode beforehand to watch it. A loud bang rang out as it hit the tree, and the mass of air exploded, taking part of the tree with it. A fairly thick branch had snapped, and the leaves were scattered, leaving the treetop completely bare. Still, not bad for a first try. "Huh? What was that just now?" Elna asked, stunned. "Well, it's my first time, so this is about what I'd expect." The main advantage of Air Bullet, its silence, was a point on which my spell failed. The lump of air might have been a little too big. I'll try to suppress the rotation speed a bit, too. I aimed at another tree and fired. This time, it flew silently and hit the tree with a thump. A shower of leaves rained down. The power was less than before, but the result was better than I expected. After firing a few more times in succession, I was able to refine it into a satisfactory spell. The range was only about 20 meters, but that was plenty for an anti-personnel spell. For what it's worth, it used about the same amount of mana as a fireball. I looked around and saw that Clelia, Elna, and Mr. Jonas were all staring, dumbfounded. That's impossible. This can't be happening. No concentration, no incantation. Lady Clelia, what is going on? That's just the kind of man Elaine is. He's been surprising me constantly. It seemed Elna, too, could only use magic exactly as written in the grimoires. Clelia's magic was improving, so Elna would probably get better with practice, too. Are there other kinds of wind magic? Of course, the next spell is called Wind Cutter. It creates a blade of air and sends it flying to slice things. Whoa, that one sounded amazing. Elna was already closing her eyes, entering a state of concentration. About 20 seconds passed. Wind Cutter! A shining plate-like object appeared at the tip of Elna's outstretched arm and shot toward a tree with a shh sound. It struck the tree and sliced off the very top. Whoa, incredible! But what was the image for this? Why would wind create a glowing plate? I couldn't picture it at all. For Fireball and Flame Arrow, I had a vague image of burning mana to make them manifest. Scientifically, it was a ridiculous notion, but since it worked, I just went with it. But I couldn't form any image for Wind Cutter. Was it that the wind moved at high speed and cut things? Hey, Elna, what kind of image do you use for that spell? An image? I don't use any particular image. I just follow the steps from the grimoire. Right, I'd forgotten. Instead of an image, she just followed the steps. This was a problem. The image of wind cutting something, it had to be an image of wind blowing with incredible force to cut through things, like a high-speed rotary saw. But in this case, the blade would be made of wind, not metal. However, having such a spinning blade rotating near my own body when firing seemed incredibly dangerous. What if I made the blade manifest only when it hit the target? A spinning blade that expands explosively upon impact. That might work. The initial image was the same as for Air Bullet. A disc-shaped bullet of air rotating at high speed, which becomes an explosively expanding rotary blade upon impact. I focused on the image and took aim. Wind Cutter, fire! With a whoosh, the air bullet flew towards its target. When it hit the tree, it exploded with a loud boom. The tree wasn't cut. It ended up being more like an explosive version of Air Bullet. I looked around and saw everyone staring with stunned expressions. It had been pretty loud after all. Sorry, I messed that one up. It seemed the image of explosive expansion was too strong. The important part was the image of an ultra-thin rotary blade that expands in an instant. I concentrated and solidified the image. Wind cutter, fire! Again, an invisible air bullet flew towards its target with a whoosh. When it hit the tree, a glowing rotary blade instantly appeared and sliced through the wood without any trouble. Yes, success! Now for range and power. By the way, the mana used was about the same as for a fire arrow. I fired wind cutter while gradually changing the distance. The effective range seemed to be about 30 meters. As a test, I aimed for the center of a thick tree and fired. It cut through it just as easily. The large tree came crashing down with a groan. Whew, glad it didn't fall on our side of the road. Incredible.
When I turned around, Clelia and Elna were looking at me with expressions of pure shock. Thanks, Elna. You taught me a good spell. I didn't teach you anything, and that spell just now wasn't wind cutter. It was some other, more amazing spell. I've never seen or heard of anything like it. I just couldn't quite copy the real wind cutter. Are there any other wind spells? My family only had the grimoires for air bullet and wind cutter, so I don't know any others. Is that so? Well, maybe there'll be others at the Mages Guild. A little while later, a familiar scene came into view. It was the place where the bandits had attacked us. The last time I went to the hideout, I was on foot, so it took some time to find a path a carriage could take, but we managed to drive right up to the entrance. I left the carriage with Clelia and Elna and went inside to check the hideout. The goods didn't seem to have been disturbed. I signaled the all clear to Mr. Jonas, and his workers began to move the cargo. Just as they have loaded about half of the goods onto the carriages, my detection magic picked up a signal. Distance, 700 meters, number 10. They were heading this way. Based on their movements, they seemed to be greyhounds. They hadn't noticed us yet. Clelia, Elna, greyhounds are approaching. They might notice us. Distance and number? 650 meters, 10 of them. How do you know that? Asked Elna. I use detection magic. Detection magic? Such a thing exists. This is bad. They've noticed us. Maybe our scent lingered. Mr. Jonas, greyhounds, get inside the hideout. There's no way the three of you can fight 10 of them. We should take shelter too and figure out a way to block the entrance. Nah, we don't need to go that far. I can handle them myself. No, Elaine, leave 3 to me, Clelia insisted. With Clelia's flame arrow, she could certainly handle 3. With my rifle, it wouldn't be a problem. All right, 3 it is. I'll take the rest. Elna, you guard Clelia. No, Lady Clelia can't possibly handle 3. Just watch, Elna. My magic has improved considerably. Understood. I will not let them near Lady Clelia. The distance was now about 200 meters. Perfect. I'd been wanting to try out the throwing knives I got from Beck and his crew. Elaine, are you going to be okay? Mr. Jonas yelled from the entrance of the hideout. No problem at all. Just watch from over there. 100 meters. When Clelia uses her magic, I'll match her. I'll take down one with a knife, so don't panic. The greyhounds came into view. After a moment of what looked like sizing us up, they must have decided they had the advantage and attacked all at once. Clelia already had her arm raised, ready. When the lead greyhound was less than 30 meters away, 3 fiery arrows manifested from her flame arrow spell. The arrows flew towards the 3 hounds in the lead. The greyhounds saw the arrows and took evasive action, but the fiery projectiles changed their trajectory and struck them. Clelia was getting better, controlling 3 arrows at once. As for me, I had already loaded the mana particles and locked on to the remaining 7. The plan was to take down 5 with flame arrow, 1 with wind cutter, and the last one with a throwing knife. First, flame arrow, fire. 5 flaming arrows manifested and pierced the foreheads of the 5 hounds in the back. This was the super high-speed version I tested at the Adventurers Guild. As expected, when they're that fast, there's no time to dodge. Next, wind cutter, fire. An air bullet flew forward with a whoosh, but since it was invisible, the greyhound didn't take evasive action. It hit the hound behind the others, manifested a glowing rotary blade, and sliced it in 2. Instantly, I threw a knife at the last greyhound. The distance was less than 10 meters, so it easily pierced its forehead. Yeah, it's an easy-to-throw, good knife. The balance must be just right. All right, that went well. Cheers erupted from the hideout. Everything is just so incredible. Lady Clelia, your magic has truly improved. I'm amazed. Right? Elaine taught me. If you learn from Elaine, Elna, you'll surely improve too. Do you think so? Sir Elaine, please teach me as well. I don't mind teaching you, but please stop with the Sir Elaine. We're comrades now, so just call me Elaine. Elaine. For some reason, she blushed and looked embarrassed. I wondered if it was customary in this world for men and women not to use first names so casually. That was amazing. I was astonished to take down 10 greyhounds in the blink of an eye. Mr. Jonas had come out of the hideout. Well, we are adventurers after all. There's no more danger in the area. You can resume your work. The workers resumed their task, with Clelia and Elna standing guard. I decided to collect the magic stones from the greyhounds. I carved them up with my electromagnetic blade knife and collected the stones. The one I'd split in two with wind cutter was a gruesome mess of blood and flesh. I should try to avoid using that on living creatures. Once the loading was finished, we left the hideout. We were in the lead carriage again, just like on the way there. Whoops, what's this? My detection magic picked up something. From past experience, this signal was a blackbird. It seemed to be perched on a tree right in the carriage's path. If it didn't fly away, I'll take it down. A moment later, it came into view. Clelia, there's a blackbird 100 meters ahead. Let me get it. Sure, if it doesn't fly away, that is. It's in this direction, perched on that tall tree. But if we keep approaching in the carriage, it'll probably flee. We were on a job after all, so we couldn't just stop the carriage to go hunting. I'll try. The range of her flame arrow was about 50 meters. Whether it would flee or not was up to luck. The carriage drew closer, but the blackbird hadn't noticed yet. Clelia already had her arm raised. Ah, it noticed. In that instant, Clelia unleashed a flame arrow. There were still 70 meters to go. Too bad it wouldn't reach. Or so I thought. But contrary to my expectations, the flame arrow continued to fly, heading towards the already airborne blackbird, and scored a direct hit. I was surprised. She must have imagined it flying longer by infusing it with more mana than usual. That was a blind spot for me. To not have noticed something so simple, my thinking was still too rigid. Cheers rose from the carriage behind us. They must have been watching, as Clelia had been standing on the cargo bed taking aim. I apologized to Mr. Jonas and had him stop the carriage so I could retrieve the blackbird. I could probably bleed it while the carriage was moving. How about we have the inn cook this? Blackbirds are delicious. Since they asked for dinner requests, they'd surely be willing to cook it for us. That's a great idea. Let's do it. But I'd rather have you cook it, Alan. Do you think we could borrow the kitchen? I wonder. It's a professional chef's kitchen after all. It might be difficult. Now that she mentioned it, I was getting the urge to cook. I wanted to try out the seasonings I bought yesterday too. No harm in asking, right? Let's do it. After that, there were no more problems, and we arrived back in town safely. We parted ways with Mr. Jonas and his crew in front of the Adventurers Guild after getting the request form signed. Elaine, thank you so much for today. You were a great help. Not at all. It was our job. Thank you for such a well-paying one. Well then, if I get any new information, I'll contact you at the Bountiful Harvest. Please do. While we were at it, we decided to submit the request form to the guild and get paid. The usual receptionist was there, so I went to her counter. We've completed the request. Here you go. Understood. Oh my, as expected of you, Elaine. Your rating is an S. There are ratings? Yes, we confirmed the client satisfaction. Usually, it's a B or a C. This rating, along with the total request fee, serves as a guideline for an adventurer's rank up. Did you do something to please the client? I see. So it's a customer satisfaction survey. They've really put some thought into this. Nothing in particular. Well, some greyhounds showed up, so we exterminated them. Exterminated? How many were there? 10. What? 10 of them? But there are only 3 of you in Shining Star, right? Did the client fight as well? No, it was just us. So you're saying the 3 of you defeated 10 greyhounds on your own?
That's right. We eliminated all of them. I see. Now I understand the S rating. Here is your reward of 5,000 guineas. If you wish to sell the Greyhound magic stones, please go to that counter over there. Come to think of it, I could sell the magic stones. I'd completely forgotten why I was collecting them. By the way, how much is a Greyhound magic stone worth? Let's see. A Greyhound stone is 400 guineas each. That includes a 50 guinea bonus for the kill on top of the base market price of 350. So you'll get a better deal selling them to the guild than elsewhere. I see, thank you. That was a pretty good price. Enough to stay at a regular inn for 4 nights. Hey, is it okay if we don't sell these magic stones and keep them instead? You know, my leather armor uses them, so I want to save up as many as I can. Besides, there was something I wanted to try. Of course, that's fine. Do as you wish, Elaine. Elna. Of course, I also have no objection to Elaine. That's doing as he pleases. It's only about 3 o'clock. How about we stop by the inn and then head to the Mages Guild? Let's do that. When we got back to the inn, the usual girl was there, so I asked her about the kitchen.
This is a strange request, but would it be possible for me to bring my own ingredients and borrow the kitchen to cook? I'm not sure. Let me go ask my father. A little while later, a gruff-looking middle-aged man came out from the back. This was the man who made the stylish food we ate yesterday? You the one who wants to cook? That's me. Cooking is a hobby of mine. I just happened to catch a tasty-looking blackbird on a job, and it made me want to cook it. I took the blackbird out of my bag. Whoa, that's a big blackbird. Looks delicious, all right. Well, you're the only guests today, so I guess I can lend you the kitchen, as long as you're okay with me watching from the side. Really? That'd be great. I'll use my own seasonings as much as possible. So how much will it cost? Don't need any money. You're bringing your own ingredients after all. So when are you planning to start? I have an errand to run right after this. I think I can be back before evening. I'll start then. In that case, I'll do the prep work for you. Just need to cut it into appropriate pieces, right? That would be a huge help. I'll take you up on that offer without hesitation. Well then, see you later. I handed him the blackbird and left the inn. He's a rather foul-mouthed man, Clelia said, unusually angry at the old man's attitude. It was true that it might not be the proper way to treat a guest at a high-end inn. A behind-the-scenes cook suited him. You think so? I find people who are a bit gruff easier to deal with. No need to walk on eggshells. No, if you don't mind it, Elaine, then it's fine. I wondered what the Mages Guild would be like. I was really looking forward to it. We started walking toward the Mages Guild.